This is the ZMAR Podcast. Elite Benefits of America helps small and mid-sized companies with their health insurance programs. And now, your host, Butch ZMAR.
Welcome back to the ZMAR Podcast. I have a special guest because every business needs it, even though they avoid it. We have Donny Byrant with me. He does a lot of copywriting. Can you give our audience just a little background on what you do? And then we're going to lead into what is copywriting.
Well, let's start with what is copywriting, which I describe it as writing stuff to sell stuff. Just to put it very simply, like you said, every business needs to sell stuff, and we have websites and we have direct mail letters and we have emails and social media stuff. And copywriting is just figuring out how to put words and ideas together with the intent of moving the sale forward with your ideal clients. So that's copywriting, and that's really what I do. I'm one of those boring people. I have no hobbies. I write copy, and I sit and watch my kids, activities.
Yeah, sure. You're like the scientist in the room, but it's for generating business, which is what everybody needs.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. So, Donny, give us a little background. How did you get the copywriting?
Okay. Well, I think I had the traditional, maybe not even traditional. I dropped out of college. I got married when I was a freshman in college, and then dropped out of college so I could try to make some money.
Yes.
Well, here's the tricky part. They wouldn't let us have a dorm together. I had to live in the men's dorm, and she had to live in the women's dorm. And I said, I'm doing this.
Yes.
So I had to go make some money so we could have a place to live. And I just got into retail, and then did that for some years. I ended up being an assistant manager at Kmart. You remember Kmart?
Oh yeah. Very few listening might.
Oh man, there's buildings left with a dark K on it. That used to be a Kmart.
If you really want to date ourselves, we can go back to Ventures.
So many, so many memories.
Right. So, retail. What did you learn in retail?
Well, retail was kicking my butt. I realized I didn't want to do it anymore. So we actually had, during the course of time when I was at Kmart. Yeah, we had 2 class action suits against the company for the way that they treated us.
Wow.
You might have to cut that out because somebody might be sensitive, but it was so bad. They were working at 60 hours, 70 hours, 80 hours a week.
Sure.
And in my particular district, there was threats of physical violence on a regular basis from upper management down. So
sure,
there was class action. Anyway, I said, I had 3 kids at the time, and I said, I don't want to work 80 hours and then come home and try and have energy and time for my family, because I didn't. Yeah. So I said, I got to figure out a way that I can do something different. And I kind of always thought I would be a writer. When I was a kid, I thought I'd love to write. I love to read. And I thought I would be, like write books or something. So I kind of had that idea, and providentially discovered at that time, when I was saying, how can I get out of retail and make enough money to take care of my family without working 80 hours a week? Not that I never work 80 hours a week, but at least I could be home. And discovered copywriting, and instantly said, I think I can do this, and started trying to learn and I started trying to get clients probably before I should have. But I was
learned.
Anxious. I was anxious to get, to escape retail. And took a little bit of time, but that's how that whole thing got started.
I mean, obviously, we go through some learning lessons. I keep calling them college tuition payments, right?
That's right.
We just keep plowing through, and eventually we become a better person, better character, right? And which is a lot of what we do in copywriting, right? And so, to me, I'm not a copywriter. I've done some marketing though, but like copywriting has really been around since the beginning of businesses, in some way, form. And I think and correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of escalated since not only just COVID, but since the online world, right? They all of a sudden becomes, instead of outsourcing it to a big, huge firm in New York or LA, now you're able to bring it more local. And then there's guys like you to say, hey, there's an art to this, and I got it. All right.
Yeah.
And so can you talk briefly on how it's evolved in the business world and where we're at today, and maybe even a little bit about where it's headed going forward?
Sure. Well, when you think about it, businesses 100 years ago, really when the nerdy copywriters like me kind of trace back copywriting in its current form to the early 1900s. And back then, all you had was mail and newspapers, and maybe a little bit of radio. So people were writing ads, but also ads didn't dominate radio like they do today. You get 2 songs and 14 commercials.
Yes.
So there were just big firms primarily writing for bigger accounts, and mom and pop would probably just write something for the newspaper, a little ad or what have you, because there wasn't that much media, and it was driven by other things. And as you introduce television and you introduce the internet, there just becomes more and more places where you need to have words written by somebody who understands how to communicate and how to persuade people, and became more and more prevalent. And then also with small businesses gaining access to those tools that used to be, the big TV station, the $1 billion, it takes $1 billion to make a TV station, or however much it costs to make a radio station. And a regular small business wouldn't have access to all of that. They may be able to buy radio time. Not all of them did, but they could send letters in the mail or yellow pages. Once again, dating ourselves. But then with the internet, things became cheaper and more accessible. And then with social media, now there's free options, and everybody feels like they need to be everywhere. And so they're creating more and more.
Everybody's an instant copywriter now, right?
At least they're trying to be.
Right. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think I was just telling my brother, if you can get excited about something and get other people excited about it too, you're halfway there, really.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's pretty much how, with email and social media, and there's, paid ads and stuff like that. Everyone has access to those things, even if you have a small budget. There's free websites. You can go. My first website, I think I didn't pay for a website for the first 4 or 5 years of my business. Somehow I got some super cheap deal on hosting, and I think I paid one time, and I got it for 3 or 4 years. And anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming a lot easier, but with that comes a lot of mistakes. What are you seeing in like a lot of the small and mid-sized companies, mainly because large companies can probably hire, and not only they can just bring the people in house, but what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing that some of these small and mid-sized companies are using in forms of copy? Maybe they're just winging it, but maybe do you have a couple examples that you might be able to share?
I think now, well, it's probably always been true. People oftentimes when they're writing, they write the way that they, as experts, like say I'm a plumber, I'll write about floaters and right. Maybe some of the things that as a technician, you're great at what you do. You know all the terms. Your audience, or the people who are going to buy from you, may not know all of those things. Plumbers are probably not so susceptible to that. Financial advisors are, and maybe, well, I can't.
Yeah, insurance. I was going to say insurance agents, right? We use too much jargon,
sure.
Right? Yeah. We assume everybody knows what we know,
right? And we don't.
Yeah,
we don't. Of course. So speaking in language that's not really simple to understand by the average person who you're trying to reach, because obviously there's always some people who they know everything. They study everything. They've been paying attention. They already have insurance and annuities, and they have all those things, so they know. But you got to be able to speak to the average person, and so I think a lot of people miss that. Another thing that people definitely do is they focus too much on their product or their service, and not so much thinking about the emotional condition of the person you're trying to sell to. So in the case of insurance, right, or like a group policy, there's frustration involved, there's confusion involved, there's how much money did I lose on this last stupid thing? We were talking about that before, how much money you've saved some of your clients.
Yes. Right.
And then when you realize I just sunk $80,000 for no reason, the frustration and kind of the anger. And if you write about policies, you're not going to be able to tap into that. But if sometimes you can introduce, I understand how frustrating it is to be confused about these things. It's very esoteric. Nobody outside the industry understands these things. But I got your back. I can help you understand, walk you take you by the hand and walk you through how to understand these things, and then show you how much money you can save, show you how to fit something exactly to your business needs, rather than just trying to cookie cutter fit you into something that benefits me. And if you can talk about those emotions, knowing what they feel, or if you don't do it, you're making a mistake, even though it doesn't seem like one. But in terms of when at the end of the day, when you haven't emotionally connected with the people you want to reach, it's a missed opportunity. So I think that's something that's very big these days too. And people don't even think to do that. They're too busy thinking about, how do I educate people about my product or service? And education is only a small part of it.
Going back and reading a little bit about who you are and what you do, there was a piece that you had wrote about facts tell and stories tell. I'm sorry, sell, right? Yeah. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on that. But I think that goes into what you were just saying, because a lot of us are like facts, 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 facts. This is true. This is true. This is true. But they don't sell anything, right? They're given information. And I love the video that you put together where your wife's going to the cafe, but she's lying to you, and so you're like, it's all about, and give us a little background on the facts tell and stories to sell.
Okay, and that's a great introduction to the idea, because I think I was being a little bit controversial with that video on purpose, but it is true that if we just do facts and statistics and the technical aspects of anything, even like chocolate. What's the molecule of chocolate that you love? Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares.
No. We enjoy chocolate.
Right? It's luscious, and you care about how it makes you feel. So telling a story about chocolate that maybe reminds you of, eating a Hershey's bar with, as a kid with your brother and sister, and you're just running around the playground. Those stories take you to a place where, I got to have some chocolate. Describing the chemical makeup of chocolate does not do it. Describing the process that's made the chocolate probably doesn't either. Unless you can sometimes maybe tell a story about the farm where the cocoa beans are, harvested. It's a different story, and you're appealing to a different feeling. But just talking about the facts and stuff don't. But the story about my wife,
it was a good story. I mean, I'm sure you made it up, but but it's got the point across.
The idea there is that when you do share facts, people have a frame of reference, and they put facts into their own story. So if you say the word annuities can be really good things, right? But they can also be disastrous things.
Totally. Yeah.
And a lot of people. So if I say my mother, had an annuity and somehow got raked over the coals over that deal. And now the word itself, if you just say, we sell annuities and we have variable interest rates and these things. And all I heard was annuities. My mom, that's why my mom, was in the terrible condition that she was in. And I tell myself that story. So you could take it to another place if you tell me a positive story about annuities. Now, it may not be a personal story, but you can walk me through, what like a hypothetical situation could be. And then you can paint the picture for me and show me at least, I still have that negative association, but at least you can put it in a different frame. And I might consider, okay, my mother got a raw deal. Maybe they're not all bad. And maybe for some situations, annuities are fine. So the stories, I'm telling myself a story anyway. Everyone, when they hear something, they put a story to it to some extent. You say chocolate, I've got plenty of stories, right? Yeah, sure. In my mind, I'm thinking about the messes my children made on the carpet, right?
Yeah, of course.
Or any of those things. But so it's helpful for a marketer or an entrepreneur or a salesperson to tell the story that takes your audience, or the person you're talking to where you want them to go, and to have the mental pictures that you want them to see that will help them get closer to making a buying decision in your favor.
For sure. And you actually just to reference some of the things you had started out with here, where if you start out your story and said, I was trying to figure out a way to make more money and I didn't have to work 80 hours a week and I could do it from home. Like, It's a drab story. Sure, everybody can relate to it, but when you said I got married young, freshman year of college, now all of a sudden you're like, well, this is a story. It shows a little bit of loyalty, right? And you were stubborn enough to say, okay, I got to figure this out, right? So
Yeah.
there's that story. You're walking through the path, and you're like, I like Donnie's story. Like, where's this gonna go, right? And then so your mind starts drifting, and then you start closure by saying, hey, this is where I'm at, and I'm making companies millions of dollars with copywriting.
Yeah. And what kind of crazy person gets married as a freshman in college?
Somebody that falls in love. I think it's a good love story. It's good that you did that because I met my wife after I got out of the military, and I was like, I'm on the 10-year plan. If she sticks around 10 years, she's golden, right? And so I made her linger around for 4 years before we got married. And so, but she was in the middle of school, and I was trying to build this insurance business, and there was a lot of crazy stuff. But that's no excuse. Like yeah, you were working on a college degree, you had other goals, but life changes, right? And you just kind of adapt to it. Same with adding kids, right? Like things change. You just gotta keep moving with the punches, right?
Listen up, Butch wants to give you your own Elite Benefits Playbook, and it's absolutely free. From business strategy to benefits strategy, every step from the start through implementation, account setup, and open enrollment, working through service requests and the process of renewals. A valuable look at your company, your insurance options, and how to make the process easier on you. Go now to elitebenefits.net/playbook and get your free Elite Benefits Playbook, or give Butch a call today, 708-535-3006.
Now you're on this campaign that you're working on, and can you give us a little background on that Made You Look campaign? I think a little bit it's mostly about subject lines, but can you give us a little idea what you were working on? What was the idea, and how long is it going to last? Because it seems like it's still going.
Yeah. Here's the interesting. I'll reveal this. Everybody doesn't know this, but since we're buddies, I'll tell you.
Sure.
Most of those videos are 2 years old.
Hey, they're good content. I've watched some of them,
and I appreciate that. They're the first thing that I was. Somebody had convinced me you need to make some videos, to diversify your content mix. Like I'm a writer, so I like to write, and I'm kind of shy on camera. Once I get talking, I'm fine, but talking to the camera by myself is weird. But I was encouraged, just if you you can reach different people and show your personality and the algorithms are kind of favoring video right now. So about 2 years ago, I said, okay, what's something I can talk about consistently? Because I had the crazy idea. I'm gonna make 100 videos in 100 days. And I didn't make video every single day, but I did about 115 videos, maybe 120 videos in about 140 days. So that kind of worked that way. But subject lines was the one thing that I knew I could talk about every single day. I write them all the time. I read them all the time. And I have, because like you said, there's an art and a science to it. I can tell you why I wrote the subject lines I did. I can tell you how they performed for the ones that I still have access to the data I remember. I can tell you all kinds of crazy stuff. And the ones that I read, same thing. I can tell you why they're really cool or why they're really bad. Like I didn't talk about any bad ones. So anyway, there's I have recorded 105 of those videos, and I put them on YouTube. And then what I'm doing now is putting them on LinkedIn. So I think I plan to still make more, but I took a little break 2 years ago. And so we'll see how many more I put on LinkedIn.
Still writing them. You're still putting the script together.
Yeah. So it's just me trying to create a valuable resource for entrepreneurs like yourself. Everybody needs subject lines. They're sending out emails, and I get that question a lot. What are some subject lines that work? What are subject lines that people open? And so off the top of your head, you're like, I could think of a few, but everybody's business is different. Everyone's audience is different. Everyone's offer is different. So I got a compilation of, I said there's 104, 105, I can't remember at this moment. And they're from real estate, they're from health, they're from relationships, they're from financial. And some of them are just, boilerplate. You can pretty much use them for everything. I mentioned President Biden in there for the lovers and the haters.
Yes,
I got Elon Musk in there for the lovers and the haters, because these are people who you have emotional reactions.
Sure. Yeah.
Either you love them or you hate them. There's really not anywhere to feel in between.
And you don't love a Tesla? Come on.
Right?
Yeah, right. Right. But some people hate it. Yes. Yeah. Well, but you bring up good points. And I think I encourage everybody to go look at it, despite that they're 2 years. And for years I've been trying to study this stuff. I'm not an expert by you because I got my own craft, but
Right.
picking up things, there's these guys, and I'm trying to remember. I was going to search it while it triggered when you were talking about headlines and stuff. There was that famous headline, the Abraham guy. I can't think of his name, but you know who he is. Well, Donnie's going to be the next one. Yep. Yeah. And so the most famous headlines ever existed, and then how do they modify it today? I think that would be pretty interesting because a lot of those are from like the early 1900s, and they still work, right?
You're right.
And even now, even a lot of business owners, even myself with the podcast, there are certain things, because there's a small little description that doesn't give the full content, that I actually wonder, sometimes I nail it on the title, and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised. I'm like, that's interesting. And it could be, something like, I remember years ago we were doing email campaigns, and I put like, your health insurance plan sucks. And like a whole bunch of people opened up, right?
That's a great one.
But then I'm like, this is the one thing that you need to know about health insurance. And I get a much lower rate, even though it's a good one, but it's still right. It's all about that emotional drive and where it's going. But obviously the copy is definitely key in a lot of things. And I think business owners really don't take it to heart, and even just employers, not just business owners, because there's mid-sized companies that don't have the owners anymore, or the transition or whatever it might be. But it's definitely key, because there's things that I pick up and I read, and I actually got your latest newsletter here. We'll talk about that in a second. Thanks but there's times I pick up material from even my own client base, and I'm like, did anybody proofread this? Like, that's just step one, right? Like, sure, you could write a copy, and they make so many tools for these small business owners that, like, they got Grammarly, which is very inexpensive. You could change the tone you wanted, and at least sound better, right? If anything. And then there's always the creativity, right? As we're moving forward, so we're in this new post-COVID world, and things are moving faster. I can see, like, online, it seems like the activity is increasing. People are more in the game. Do you think it's like the whole blue ocean strategy, where now it's getting muddy waters, or do you think that copy's always there and it's just moving in a different direction?
Yeah, well, here's what's interesting, and I think you're 100% correct. I think there's more opportunity than ever, and there's going to be more need for copy than ever before. There's a lot of competition because everybody's got 1,000 places where they put copy, whether they wrote it, they found somebody to write it, or now with artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, a lot of people are using that to write sales copy for them, or at least to help them write it. And there are blog articles, all the content that they do, even video scripts. If you've seen, I don't know if you ever use Vimeo, but Vimeo now has a script generator. You can say, hey, I want to talk about this, and it will give you a rough outline of a script. So even people who don't want to write video scripts can use AI to get like a shortcut. And all those things are cool. So it's both. Things are accelerating. There's going to be more and more copy and content everywhere, and people need it more to try and stay relevant and stay visible. So there's going to be a lot, but there's going to be a lot of competition as well. I think one thing that differentiates this current era is we're all competing with Netflix. All of us are. So maybe back in the day it wasn't so much so, but right now I can read your email or I can watch Breaking Bad, right? What am I going to do? It's on my phone. I got it right here, and thousands of hours of any show that I want to watch on YouTube as well. And so we can't afford to be boring. We can't afford to be irrelevant. We had to say things that are interesting, in some ways entertaining, and specifically relevant to the situation that our readers are in. So your insurance plan sucks. It's great, because I got to deal with that, right? Yes. I got to deal with that. Something you need to know is like, that's what I got a guy for. I got a guy for that. Sure. I'll just call Butch. He can fix that for me.
Yeah, loyalty.
That's right. So there's still, I think there's still a blue ocean. There's still so much room for personality to come through, and opinion matters. For you to put your flag in the ground and say, I believe in this or that. It may be more of a blue ocean than ever for you to take a stand on something, anything.
There's only one of you, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so and everyone's so opinionated these days, and so emotionally reactive to everything. But I think that makes it a little bit easier to build a tribe around you. If you take a stand and have the courage to say something meaningful and maybe against the grain a little bit, then the people who feel the same way, they're going to say, that's my guy. She and I, we're the same kind of people, and I want to listen to what they say. I want to support what they're doing. And if I'm going to buy from somebody, might as well be someone who has the same values as me.
For sure. And obviously it comes down to content, and there's different forms of content, right? We're talking about just copyright, and some people are thinking newsletters and articles and stuff, but it could actually get all the way down to Instagram posts, right? Little pictures and what you put actually in there. There's software that, Canva's one, and then there's many other ones where you can make your own memes and you can make your own stuff. And that's where the copy, right? Like you said, it's got to be entertaining, got to pull your personality out. And some of that really gets difficult. And I know, it's about leveraging technology. I mean, I've used Chat GTP, but it's really just for bullet points. You get that writer's block, right? And you're like, okay, I'm trying to find things to write or talk about this topic. And then it spells something out. And you're like, yeah, I know everything on there. I just needed the bullet points. I just couldn't extract it.
Right.
And you had created a video, and then, we'll start wrapping some things up here. But you created a video and some content really around where copywriters were fear that this AI stuff is going to put them out of business. But can you talk a little bit on that? Because I actually don't think it'll actually make you shine a little bit more. Sure, you're going to have some little amateurs over here that are doing some copywriting, either selling it or they're trying to do it on their own. But at some point, they're going to need a guy like you.
Yeah. And I thank you for asking that question. I made a couple of videos over. It's weird because maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, the first kind of wave before Chat GPT came out, there was a couple of AI tools that were less advanced. And I made a video. I was saying, if you're really committed to being a basic writer, you will be replaced one day, right? But if you have the drive to continue to improve yourself and to work on being good, you don't have to worry about AI. And then Chat GPT came, and everybody started going, it's the sky's falling, right? I had a guy call me on the phone. Donny, what am I going to do? I think it's all coming down. I'm like, first of all, here's what's interesting. The same way that people don't want to learn how to write copy, a lot of people are not going to want to learn how to use Chat GPT. It's not that difficult, but there's just the fear of technology or the hesitancy to kind of mess around with that. And like you said, you're focused on your business, doing the things in your business that you're great at. So I don't think AI is going to replace many copywriters. I only know maybe a couple who have been impacted at all. Everybody asks me that question. Everybody. How's AI treating you? It hasn't done anything to me yet. Let's see in 3 or 4 years. Who knows? But actually, to your point, I think it's it's a tool like any other tool that will help us to be more productive and streamline our efforts. But we still have to have personality. We still have to have those opinions. We still have to know how to respond to our individual circumstances and our individual audiences. Everyone is different. And ChatGPT doesn't actually know anything. It's a language model, not a knowledge model. It doesn't know anything. It just knows how to put words together. I mean, that's what it knows. But it doesn't know how anyone's going to react to any given thing. And it doesn't know what's true either, which is you can prove because if there's a button that says regenerate, and if you hit the button, it'll say something different.
And you definitely bring up a good point. I think that's where more validity to what you guys do is you could get a base form from there, but it like you got to know what you're looking at. You got to know what you're reading for, and you have to know your audience, right? Where you're going, who's going to buy. And so, this has definitely been great. I want to have you, we'll have you come back on the show. We'll talk about more of this stuff. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, I know you have a newsletter on LinkedIn, and then you also have it on your website. So if somebody wants to reach out and have, further conversation, hire you, whatever it might be, how do they get in touch with you? And if there's more information like your newsletters, how do they do that?
Yeah. The website is Donny-Byrant.com. If you Google me, there's one other guy. I think he's a dentist in Arkansas, but you'll find me. Same thing on LinkedIn. I think I don't know if anybody else would come up, but I'm more active on LinkedIn these days than any other social platform. And if you go to my website, that's where all my content really goes to the newsletter first. Then it usually ends up on my website and sometimes ends up on social media. I don't create too much fresh stuff for social media that comes down the pike from the newsletter. So anyway, to answer the question, Donny-Bryant.com is probably the easiest way. But if you're on social, LinkedIn is where I'm at more than anything else.
We'll put it in the show notes too, so that way they can reach out to you. And I think it'll be good. I appreciate your time today, and this is great, valuable information, and hopefully some businesses out there pick up on it.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to the second edition.
Thank you.